Welcome to every horror film, bitch. What's going on, guys? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have finally made it to the Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street review series where we're going to rank all the films in the franchise. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm, of course, Freddy Krueger. Jeff,
I'm Tommy Wiseau. I might be a vampire.
I love it. Absolutely. All right, I got to take this mask off. I can't do it with the whole
Dude,
review.
I bet
I
it's
just had to
hot
do it
under
this
there,
once.
dude.
Give me a second.
I'll bet it's hot under there. It's hot in this suit. I don't know how he dresses like this.
Ooh. Oh.
Keep
All
the
right,
hat.
that's
Yeah,
right.
keep the hat. There you go.
That's right. I look like Johnny Depp on a regular day.
Now you're just Jason Mraz.
Nah. Hey, I'm just a guy with a hat.
Just a guy with a hat.
That's who Jason Mraz is. But yes, thank you guys so much for tuning into every horror film. We have had a absolute blast doing this review series here. And I got to tell you, man, I've got a lot of things to say about these movies. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And happy Halloween tonight when I'm trick or treating. And well, excuse me, let me bring that back. When kids are coming to my house trick or treating, I'm gonna slice the shit out of them with this
Yeah,
glove,
dude.
okay?
Yeah.
And that's right. It's I'm gonna take them for a nightmare.
You think kids today know Freddy Krueger like we do?
Dude, I tell you what, the kids in my neighborhood, they definitely know who Michael Myers is because every year I dress up as Michael for Halloween. This year I decided to change it up because we did the Freddy reviews. I said, okay, I'm gonna do it a little bit different. And the last 2 years I've done it, people are like, oh, that's Michael Myers. I know who Michael Myers is. Like, I mean, they just know. So it'll be interesting to see what they think about Freddy.
Dude, imagine if one of them says, "Who are you?"
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to take this hat off too. Can't do it. It's too big. I love your costume. I think that's fantastic.
Thanks. Kid wanted for us to be vampires. So my fiance is going to be a Lost Boys 80s vampire. And I was on the fence a lot. And I was like, you know what? Maybe Tommy Wiseau is a vampire.
I love it. I love it. So let's get into this. First off, we've had an absolute blast reviewing these movies. This has been a lot of fun, such as the Halloween review series. That too was a lot of fun. And I'm glad that we were able to do these movies because there was a lot of ones I haven't seen. A lot of them I got to revisit and I had a great time. But at the end of the day, it's all about if you ain't first, you're last. And we'll start with number 8. Jeff, I will let you go first. Give me your number 8, your last film of the franchise. Which one is the worst?
All right. Well, for any of you who might have missed it, if you're questioning why there's 8 and not 9, it's because we're not doing Freddy versus Jason right now. Friday the 13th is a franchise we got to review before we could do Freddy versus Jason fairly. So you'll notice that our rankings, I love the hat by the way, you'll notice that our rankings are devoid of Freddy versus Jason. So all these placements are pending where Freddy versus Jason going to get shoved in there somewhere. So without further ado, my number 8, last of the last, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Gave it an F. Don't really want to think about this movie anymore. It's kind of like watching my cat get run over by 7 or 8 clown cars. This movie sucks. What do you think? What's your number 8?
Oh, you're gonna hate me for this one. You might not hate me, but I was very clear in my reviews. For me, number 8 is gonna be Part 5. Part 5.
Not true. It's bullshit.
The Dream Child. I thought this movie was incredibly boring. I thought it was the worst aspects of Freddy possible. I didn't care for the plot. I definitely didn't care for the kid actor because no one ever does. I don't like Freddy in this movie. I don't like any of the jokes. I don't like any of the kills. Well, now the motorcycle kill is cool. I'll give it that. But that's about it. That's the only cool thing I can say about this movie is that it's got a cool motorcycle kill. That's it. If I ever had to get rid of a Freddy movie in the franchise, it's going to be part 5. I did not enjoy this movie. I think I gave it a D, somewhere a D, DF.
Yeah, D or D minus.
D.
Let's try to recap what our letter grades were for each one so we can see the growth there and what the trend is.
That's correct. So I gave this a D or a D minus, something like that.
Yeah, fair enough. I think on a couple more rewatches, you might rank it a little bit higher, but damn, hey, if the last of the last is only a D or D minus, we're already better than Halloween.
Correct. And there maybe are 2 movies in this franchise that I think some people would give an F. You have already given one of those an F. But I'm going to go ahead and start with my number 7. My number 7 is going to be Freddy's Dead. A lot of people think this is the worst in the franchise.
You rank that too high, by the way.
Including yourself, but I disagree. I think this movie, obviously it sucks. It's not a good movie, but I just have so much fun with it because it's so stupid, zany, and funny. I don't take it serious. I could honestly see myself just like, you know what, dude, I'm just trying to have fun. If I'm ever at like a Halloween party and somebody's like, give me like the dumbest horror movie you can find, let's just put some on. I'm putting on Freddy's Dead. Okay, I am.
I think if you're going to take some Delta 9 gummies and put on a Freddy movie, that would be the one.
Yeah, that's also true. If getting stoned is your thing, I would put Freddy's Dead on because it's probably going to make you laugh the most. So Freddy's Dead goes to number 7 for me.
You gave that one a C minus, right?
I think a C minus, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, we can't all be right. It's all good. All right. My number 7 is A Dream Master. Number 4. That might be surprising. And it's not just to get you back at that, but number 4, A Dream Master. I made it kind of clear in my review. I didn't care for this movie. It was a boring watch. Franchise fatigue was starting to set in, and this movie was rushed and minimalist to begin with. Really didn't do anything to wow me. At least the Dream Child was gross. I don't have any feelings attributed to number 4. So number 4 is probably the most forgettable Freddy movie to me. Just being straight up, I really don't want to watch it again. Not because it was bad, because it is better than some others, but it's just fucking boring to me.
Man, it pains me to hear that because I thought part 4 was awesome.
I get it. I get it's the MTV nightmare, but it's just boring to me. It's forgettable.
Maybe your tune will change one day, such as me in part 5.
Maybe.
So going on to number 6 for me is going to be the Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 remake. This is the most recent one we talked about, obviously, but I do not think it was the worst in the franchise, like many people say. Usually it's between Freddy's Dead and A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. There were a lot of things I enjoyed about this movie, including Jackie Earle Haley. I liked his performance as Freddy. I like some of the chances they took in this movie. I thought they really could have paid off if they would have doubled down and went with that. I think me and you both agree. There are a lot of aspects to like about this movie. But unfortunately, you know, they try to recreate some iconic scenes from the first film. They fail at that miserably. And at the same time, they don't double down on the things that would have made this a successful and different movie. They played it safe. When you try to please everyone, you please no one. And that's what they did. So this movie, to me, I gave it a C minus. I'm going to stick with that. But it's not last. So I would definitely go back and rewatch it again, though.
Do you think you would have ranked it higher or lower if it wasn't your first viewing? Do you think it might change upon further viewings?
I think it could. I could see it. It depends. I could either see this moving up to my number 5 spot, or I could see this going down and switching from Freddy's Dead, just because it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Freddy's Dead, just because if I'm just trying to have some fun, I'm putting on Freddy's Dead. But if I am like in for a serious movie, I'm going to put on the remake instead. So it just kind of depends on what mood I'm in. It could go up, it could go down.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And it is fair because my number 6 is also the 2010 remake. You hit the nail on the head there, man. Some of the creative decisions they made here could have really made for a good original piece, but they played it too close to home. You know, a ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are made for. You know, to take some risks. Yeah, it'll either pay off or you'll learn your lesson. But the lesson here was, if you're just going to retread the steps, do it 100%, because if you do it only halfway, you're going to get half a movie. So Identity Crisis through and through with the remake. Check out a review. I think it was really well criticized. There are some highlights, Jackie Earle Haley being one of them, cinematography being another one. So it is better than two other movies to me. And I like it. I'll watch it again.
Yeah, very cool. Man, I hate to say this, but is it gonna hurt your feelings to let you know I've never watched The Room? I've always wanted to watch The Room. I still have not seen it.
You know, I was on a roll here, and I don't think I'm ever gonna get back on the mental track that I was when you hit record on this. Holy shit. Are you serious?
I've heard all about The Room, and I've heard it's the best worst movie of all time. I've still never seen it, but I want to watch it.
It is such a good time. We went to the theater to watch it this year, and
Really?
the theater was almost sold out, and and everyone was just yelling and screaming and laughing at the movie. It was the best theater experience I ever had. Was The Room, if you could believe that. And for one reason, I'll explain to you outside of this video. People were throwing plastic spoons at the screen all the whole time, so it's kind of an inside joke there. But yeah, The Room is amazing. Watch it.
I've thought about me and you starting a separate channel called Every Other Film, where we review every movie that's not horror films, because horror is our favorite genre, yes, but there are other movies that we love.
We just got to talk about it, man. There's just some movies we just got to talk about.
We just got to talk about them, maybe in the future. But yes, I will see that movie.
Good.
So moving on, number 5. Boy, this is gonna piss you off. It's gonna be New Nightmare. Number 5 for me. I gave this movie a B minus. I was in between a C plus and a B minus. This isn't the worst to me. It's not the best. I do like Heather Langenkamp in this movie. I like the meta. God, I hate that word. I'm so tired of it. That storyline, it's different, it's new, it's fresh. It's really what helped make Scream, I think. And I like the direction they go with it. It's not my favorite in terms of kills, in terms of Freddy. It's not my favorite, but it's solid. It's different. I know you absolutely adore this movie. I do like it. I don't adore it as much as you do, but I do think that it is a solid movie, and I mean it's right there in the middle of the rankings for me. I will go back and watch it again. I will enjoy it. But yeah, it's number 5 for me.
Oh man, you just fucking laying into me this call, huh?
That's right. Jeez. I am.
All right. Well, I don't know if I'll get you back with the rest of my list, but we'll try anyways. Number 5 for me, The Dream Child. Number 5. I gave it a C plus.
Trash.
Hey. Hey. Coming hot off number 4, which I was just bored out of my mind with, I'd rather be grossed out than asleep. If I'm watching a Freddy movie, I'd rather be grossed out than bored. So I get it, man. I get the criticisms. It's not a good movie by any means, but I would rather watch that than number 4. I would absolutely rather watch that than number 6. So, yeah, man, I appreciate some of the liberties they took. The motorcycle kill is one of them. The eating until you die is one of them. It's gross. The set design is nice. The kid is cringy. It's a very it is an interesting watch. We'll put it that way. And I'd rather have an interesting watch than nothing at all.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So boy, this one might not piss you off, but this is going to piss off a lot of the fan base and all of our millions of subscribers that watch this video, of course.
Millions.
Number 4 is going to be part 3, The Dream Warriors for me.
What? Wow.
Man, I gave this movie a B minus, but I base that off potential of when I go back and watch it more. A lot of people in the community, the Nightmare on Elm Street community, the fans, and God bless them, I love them all, but they have put this movie as number 1. And for me, while it's not the worst, it's right in the middle. I did enjoy it, but I don't know, man. Just something about it. I could not put it as my top favorite or even put it in my top three. Um, I do like the aspect of the Dream Warriors. I do like the actors in the movie. They're great. Robert Englund is very good as Freddy, but they're to me they didn't have, and to some people they say it's the perfect combination of dark and funny Freddy. I think they got that right on part four the best. In this one, it just feels a little too campy to me in certain aspects. There are some darker thought or themes in the movie when talking about teen suicide and things like that. And granted, I gave this movie a B minus, but there's just something about it that it didn't quite grasp me the way that other people have talked about it. And so I just have to be honest with the way I'm feeling. I did give it a B minus. I do want to go back and watch it again. And I think it's something that will grow on me over time and I will like more. I'm not hating on the movie, but I don't love it as much as other people do. And therefore, that's why it is number 4 for me.
Do you think there's a stimulus that comes with Wes Craven's name, and that's why people will rank it higher? Like they rank it higher because they see Wes Craven's attached to it?
It could be. And to me, people say they like 3 better because it's more creative and imaginative and they like the characters better. And I'm not disagreeing with that. I think it's a solid movie. I didn't get into it the way that I got into some of these other movies. And I think that's something that could change. I could come on here a couple months around and be like, oh, dude, part 3 is like the best. I could. But for right now, it's number 4 for me. It was good, but it didn't. I wonder if my expectations were set a little high because I had always heard, dude, part 3 is like the best. Yes, the original is good, but part 3 is where it's at. And I just maybe my expectations were too high. I just didn't get that with this movie. I didn't.
Yeah, that makes sense. People do set the expectation high for number three. Everyone says it's either their first or their second best, and it's neither for me either. So I get what you're saying, but yeah, it's fine. It's good, but it's fine.
Right.
Um, my number four was Freddy's Revenge. Number two, the gay one. I gave it a C plus. It was a fun watch, man. I liked it, and you know what? In retrospect, compared to some of the most over the top, ridiculous sequels that we get, I'm surprised at how grounded this Freddy still is. You talked about how it's the most menacing Freddy you've seen on screen. Um, Tenfold now that we've seen all of them, I'm surprised they kept it so grounded. I would almost expect this plot line and this type of installment to show up as number 5 or 6. So bold. There's a lot of conversations to be had about it. Obviously, some laughs to have about it. Freddy's peak here for real. He's still dark enough, and in a campy movie, number 5 is a dark movie where he's campy, but this is a campy movie where he's dark. So interesting contrast there. I'm surprised at how much I like number 2. Again, it's not for me, but I'll place it above some of the others for sure.
Absolutely. Respect. Respect.
Mhm.
But other than New Nightmare, because I know that is your favorite. Well, I could be wrong. But would you say that number 2 version of Freddy is one of your favorites?
um, there's 3 versions of Freddy. There's standard Freddy, there's New Nightmare Freddy, and there's remake Freddy. In terms of the standard Freddy, no, Freddy versus Jason is my favorite Freddy. And
Really?
I still stand by that. I just actually watched it the other day just because it was almost Halloween. I still stand by that even after watching this whole franchise. Love Freddy versus Jason. I think that's Robert Englund at his peak, but we'll get there. Um, but number 2 is uh, you know, he's not a freshman anymore. He's donning the glove for a second time. He's expanding his horizons a little bit, and we're seeing just what Freddy can do. And it is definitely up there. I'd say it's top 3 Freddy performances for me at least.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. So now we get into the top 3. Number 3 for me is going to be Part 4. I love Part 4. I had so much fun with this movie. I know you completely disagree, and that's okay because we can still be friends, Tommy Wiseau, even though I haven't seen your movie. But I will watch it one day. But Part 4 to me was a lot of fun. This was the perfect balance of comedy Freddy for me. This was not, yes, it was campy, but it was done in a way that I enjoyed it. I liked the story. I liked the Alice character. I do like, so I love a lot of the kills in this movie. They're really good. And to me, this is a good, funny version of Freddy. He does do a little bit of dark stuff, but it's just, this is what they call the MTV movie of the franchise. And this is kind of right when MTV was really popping off in the late 80s. And to me, this just is a fun movie to put on and watch. Freddy to me is great. He's got some great one-liners in this movie. And yeah, I have fun with this movie. I want to go back and watch it again. I hope I don't dislike it, because I have this weird thing where sometimes I'll go and watch a movie. I'm like, oh man, this was great. And I'll go back and watch it again. I'm like, what the was I thinking? Halloween Kills per se. So, but for right now, I really enjoy Part 4. It's number 3 for me. I think it's a lot of fun.
I know you like number 4. I wish I liked it. I watched it twice for a review. I don't know, man. Maybe it's because campy turns me off, and I'm used to my serious Freddy. But I get it. I appreciate it, and it is well made. I'll give it that. My number 3, getting to my top 3 now. My number 3 is, of course, installment number 3, Dream Warriors. Gave this one a B plus. Yeah, everything that people say online about why it's so good, they're correct. This is very good. Wes Craven is all over this script in some form or fashion, and the creativity is there to match. Strongest script, I think, of the original 6, maybe. Interesting elements are made. Interesting themes are touched upon, and John Saxon is in it, so that's a win for me. I can't stop eating this wig. I'm not used to having long hair. I've never had long hair in my life. This is horrible. But no, Dream Warriors is good. It's a good movie. I also get what you're saying about how it might be a little overrated. It certainly appears that way to me. Yeah, Wes Craven is in it, but he is not the only driving force in this. In fact, some of the things that you like the most about this movie did not come from Wes Craven. So strong watch. Will definitely watch it again. The puppet kill, one of the best. Great of the kill. Best. Absolutely. But gave that one a B plus. That is my number 3. So that's as good as it's going to get. Let's get into our top 2 here.
Top 2. Let you go, Lars. Top 2. Well, for me, I said it from the beginning when we reviewed this movie, and going through all these movies, it only strengthened my passion for this movie. Number 2 is going to be number 2, Freddy's Revenge for me. Ooh. Man, I think I gave this movie a B minus or B minus B, something like that. And now that I've gone and watched these movies, I love this version of Freddy. It is, to me, other than the original, the best looking, the best talking, the best moving, just the best everything. This is a dark version of Freddy, and like you said, and it's a good point, this is a dark Freddy in a kind of comedic and campy movie in a way. I like this movie. Yes, obviously everybody knows it's the gayest horror film of all time, but I think that does a lot of service to this movie. A lot of the stuff, that the innuendos and things like that, yeah, you can take it for what it is, but I think that kind of helps the movie out and enhances it in a way. I like Mark Patton, Jesse, as his character. You don't really see a lot of final guys as characters, and I think he did a fantastic job. I like the plot. I like his friend, in the kill and the creativeness of him, Jesse coming out of Freddy, coming out of his body. And that's just
coming
great.
Out. Get that.
The coming out. I love that. I love the, the pool scene. You either love the pool scene or you hate it. I love it where you're all my children. I love that scene. I think it's great. Freddy Krueger, dicing people up at a pool. I love it. But yeah, number two for me, it's grown on me. I used to not like it at all. Now it's in my number two spot, and I think it's going to firmly stay there for quite a while. So number two for me is number two.
You know, I cannot agree with you more. The biggest takeaway I have from reviewing this whole franchise this month is just how much Freddy's Revenge deserves to be talked about, whether it be about gay representation in media or even just campy 80s or even just Freddy movies. Number two was surprisingly enjoyable and was very surprising to me. Certainly the underdog of this franchise. Yeah, man, I think everyone should see number two. I'm gonna, when someone next time someone comes over or something and they ask to see a Freddy movie and they don't want to see the original or the remake, I'm gonna show them number two for real. I think everybody should see it once, love it or hate it. But yeah, man, underdog for sure, and a surprising smash hit for me too.
Absolutely, I love it.
All right, well, that leads me to my number two, and there was some debate when we did the Halloween franchise about if I would put the original at number one or
Don't
not.
do it. Don't do what you're gonna do.
Listen, listen. I told you that New Nightmare was my favorite Freddy movie. My absolute favorite. I love it. I am so in love with the plot. I'm so in love with the idea. I absolutely a banger. It's just one of the one Freddy movies I'd watch outside of a franchise rewatch. Absolutely love New Nightmare to death. And although it is my favorite, it rightfully deserves its spot at number two. It is number two, and make no mistake, it is my favorite. It is the most creative, and it's the one I think I can talk about the most. But it is number two, and therefore number one, and I think it's your number one as well, obviously. And let's be real, whose is it not? Number one. Let's say it together. Nightmare on Elm Street, dude. One of the greatest to ever do it, for sure. I mean, and I'm so glad we made it through this franchise. It made me appreciate this movie even more. It's, I want to go back and retroactively change my grade. I've never done this before, but I gave it an A on the review because I was pointing out flaws about it. And one of my biggest flaws was the way that Freddy perished. But I'm going to retroactively change that up to an A plus, man.
Oh,
Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street is top 10 greatest horror films of all time, objectively. It has a lasting impact. It is one of the most iconic movie characters of all time. Wes Craven, one of the most creative horror masterminds. We just spent the whole month dissecting everything that was spawned from that masterpiece. So yes, Nightmare on Elm Street is an A plus for me, and I think it was for you, right?
I gave it an A. I believe I gave it just a solid A. I'm gonna stick with that. Maybe it'll change in the future, but man, then that is not taken away from this movie. It's a classic. I agree. It's a top 10 greatest horror film of all time.
Oh yeah.
To me, I think, and I've said it many times in this review series, Freddy has the best origin backstory. If you're looking at just the original, hey, this guy, he was wrongfully let go off a technicality for what he did to these kids. The parents took it into their own hands. They killed him. Boom. Now he's in your dreams trying to kill you. That's it. That's all I need to know. I don't need anything else. I don't need the son of 100 maniacs.
Yeah.
I don't need the dream demons giving him these powers. I don't need that. All I need is the original concept, and I'm good.
Exactly.
That movie is an absolute classic. Classic kills. You've got the absolute great performance by Robert Englund of the perfect amount of being sinister and evil, but also also having the one-liners, but not really in a comedic way, in a way that was very nuanced and it worked. And that's something that, while I like the darkness of the remake, it didn't have the nuance in the. I'm not really sure how I'm trying to say it, but it doesn't have to be comedic, but the way it came across, it was too serious. In this one, you have a serious Freddy, but he can tone it back and kind of not make you laugh, but kind of make you examine him as a character. What I'm trying to say is that this movie kicks ass, okay? That's what I'm trying to say.
It
and
does.
it's great.
Yeah, you're right. Put it in a time capsule of greatest achievements in filmmaking for sure. Nightmare on Elm Street. You haunted me as a child. You haunted me this October. You're going to continue haunting. Hey, you are top 10, baby. Great job.
Absolutely.
And thank you for the franchise that you gave us, for better or worse. And this has been fun for sure. For sure,
It
this has been fun.
it's been awesome. And also don't forget it gave us a great horror score as well. That original, the
Mhm.
1-2 Freddy's Coming for You and the 80s synth and all that stuff. Classic, man. And
Yeah,
just
dude. And the DJ Jazzy Jeff song.
yes, all that good stuff as well. So now that we've ranked them all, we've reviewed them all, we've talked about them all, we always like to do these cap offs with a little bit of a look toward the future. So I know you had asked me two questions earlier. I'll kind of throw this in there. You know, what would you like to see in the future of A Nightmare on Elm Street? It has been 13 years since we have had a Freddy movie. Every year or every other year, it seems like, oh, there's news about a new Freddy movie coming out. Never happens. It's like waiting on the next Grand Theft Auto to come out. It's just never going to happen. And you know, you hear news, you get excited. Robert Englund, he wants to do one more. Oh, no, he doesn't. Okay, now they're going to make a remake. Oh, they don't want to do that. Oh, they're going to reboot the series, start fresh, and they're not going to do that. From what I understand, the latest information which came out a couple months ago is that the estate, Wes Craven's estate, they own the rights. They are looking for the perfect script and the right thing to come along, which I don't have a problem with. I would rather wait and get something that's great than get something subpar. But man, this day and age, you feel like if you get Freddie in the right hands, dude, it would be a slam dunk of what somebody could do with this series.
Oh yeah, yeah. Freddie, Michael had his comeback, and it worked. It worked big time. It put Michael at the front of every Halloween store. It put Michael back on T-shirts. It put Michael back in the Halloween costume conversation each year. Michael had his comeback, man, and I already don't want more. I want to take a break from Michael. I want to have someone else have his opening, and I want Freddie to be that guy. I want Freddie to have his opening. I don't think there's been a better time. I mean, we are living in the age of requels and bringing back legacy actors and all that nonsense. I don't think there's a better time. Heather Langenkamp, she wants to do it. Robert Englund might want to do it. They're not getting any younger, man. Um, I'm glad they're waiting for the right script. That is the only right decision that you could make right now. Do not just ship it off to whoever buys it. I mentioned at the end of our review for the 2010, the reason that there's not another one yet is because there's some kind of tie up in the contracts where Rooney Mara and Jackie Earle Haley and them are contracted to appear in the next two Freddy movies, whatever they may be. But because those next two Freddy movies didn't pan out in a trilogy like they had planned 14 years ago, it's kind of in limbo. Their contracts are still active. Their contracts are still valid. And someone not only has to come along and buy the IP, but also buy them out of their contract, which is a very wealthy purchase. And it's probably so high that it's a gamble to see if you'll even make that back, let alone making the movie. So I think it's going to be a little while. I don't understand the legality of it. I don't know why that contract's not just null and void after so many years, but it's not my business. But yes, I think it's going to be a while. I don't even know if we'll see Freddy this decade, to be completely honest. Maybe 2030.
No,
Maybe. Nah, I don't know.
I think we do see him this decade. I think it's
Think
going to
so?
happen. We went pretty much the whole 2010s. Oh, I mean, pretty much all 10 years without Freddy. We had the 2010 movie. Um, but I think you are going to see it. I think you will see it. I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I think maybe within the next 2 to 3 years, I think you will see it.
I hope so, man. And you know what I hope most importantly, I hope it's not some fucking Apple TV streaming service
No.
original serial plot. I hope it's not Amazon original. I hope it's not that.
Well,
I want a full blockbuster, dude. I want to be scared again.
let me ask you this. Um, so there's going to be the new Crystal Lake series,
Yeah.
which is going to be on Peacock. No one for the longest time ever thought that there was going to be a Friday the 13th because the legalities in that were all mixed up. You had the two guys who really created the Friday the 13th franchise, and then you had the guy that created Jason as we know him, the hockey Jason. And they were able to finally come together and let this new series be made and use both of those IPs. And so we should be getting a full on Jason in this new series that's coming up. So no one ever thought that was going to happen. If that can happen, I'm very confident that the Freddy thing can happen because I believe that the IP is too good. There's someone out there that can make this happen and can make it really, really good. And even if it sucks, dude, The Exorcist Believer, we haven't reviewed it yet. We haven't seen it yet, but a lot of people have not had a lot of good things to say about the movie. Blumhouse paid $400 million for the rights to that. Now, you're telling me you can't buy out a couple contracts that were made in 2010 and produce this movie? I don't know, man. I think somebody can do it, and I think they will do it in the next 2 to 3 years.
Oof, 2 to 3 years. That conversation has to happen right now. Maybe I'll keep the optimism that you have as well. I think you're right. And with the Camp Crystal Lake thing, it's interesting that it's two IPs. I wonder if it's going to be like an 8-part series. It's all about Crystal Lake and these original characters, and then Jason's going to show up in the last act of the last episode, fully formed. I wonder if that's the agreement they reached upon. Knowing what I know about streaming services, that's probably the case. But I'm also pretty pessimistic about streaming services, so we'll see. I will watch it. Um, yeah, man. I want someone to do something with it, but I'm glad that Craven's estate is holding on to it, and it's not like Platinum Dunes holding on to it for a good amount of money. I'm glad that it's Craven's estate holding on to it. Um,
Correct. I agree.
so all right, so you get the news. You wake up tomorrow, you get the news that Freddy's rights have been acquired and production has begun. What do you want to see? What kind of movie? What kind of production? How do you want Freddy to come back?
I know this is going to sound really cliche probably at this point, but I would love for A24 to get their hands on Freddy. I
Hmm.
think I think that would be a great place for him to go because we're very much in this, I hate this word too, elevated horror era of films. But I think they could do it in a way with A Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy where it could be done in a fun, imaginative, creative way, something really cool. But I'm not necessarily going to talk about who I want to do it. I'm just going to talk about what I would like to see happen. I think you've got to go, as much as I love Robert Englund, you cannot go back to him, I don't think, because let's say you go the legacy sequel route that Halloween 2018 did. Yes, everybody pretty much liked Halloween 18. They did it. They did a nice job. They did a nice balance between nostalgia and creating a new story and all this stuff. Fine, but uh, a lot of people are saying the Exorcist Believer tried to do the same thing and it kind of backfired. I don't think you can go back to that well that many more times, and I think you have to start fresh because you can't bring back Robert Englund for one more performance. While it might be good, then what are you going to do in the future? You've got to get somebody that you can build a franchise around, someone that you believe in, you're willing to have good creative writing. Ignore what the people are saying about, oh, we need Robert Englund. Robert Englund's my Freddy. Okay, that's all nice and dandy, but you have to move on. And I think get a young actor, someone who can make a couple sequels, get someone in there with solid script writing, creativeness, and you could take this thing as far as you could take it. But the biggest thing for me is find someone young that's not Robert Englund. Maybe you can get advice from him on how to do the character, but I don't want him playing the character. You need to start fresh, start new, start your own timeline, and do your own thing. That's the best I could say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's spot on, man. It can't be Robert England in the glove one more time. Cameos, yes, of course. Absolutely. Have him show up. Have him lend his voice to a phone call that Freddie makes, maybe. I don't know. But have him in there somewhere because no one deserves him more than him. But in
Right.
a lead role, man's getting old, man. Time is flying. So I don't know that he'll be up to bat. I mean, Nick Castle wasn't carrying the weight in Halloween 2018. James Jude Courtney was. So,
Correct.
yes, Freddy has to be recast. Absolutely. And we'll talk about that in a second. But, yeah, he has to be recast. It's got to be a new timeline. And if we've learned anything from 2010, it's that do not pull your punches. Do
Nope.
not make a remake. Do not just try to don't just try to float off of the callbacks to the original, man. Make something new and bold and fresh, like a New Nightmare. I mean, New Nightmare raised the bar for reinventing the way you tell this story. So do a New Nightmare. Make it take place in 2025 where no one remembers Freddy and everyone's talking about elevated horror. I think the latest Screams did something like that. But do it, man. Do something, but do it bold and do not do a remake. Whatever you do, do not do a remake. We cannot see Batman's parents die again. We cannot see Uncle Ben die again. We cannot see Nancy again unless it's Heather Langenkamp coming back for a requel, which is the most likely outcome.
I agree. Absolutely. I think the best thing you can do, which very similar to the Halloween TV series that is likely coming, do your own thing. But that's
Yes.
another conversation for another day. I know you had another question. What was the other one again?
Well, the inevitable question is, I mean, the inevitable realization is Robert Englund has to be recast. We need a new Freddy when the movie does come around. Um, we need a new Freddy. So we saw Jackie Earl Haley step up to the plate, filled the glove out pretty well, if I could say so myself. He's not an A-list celebrity star by any means, and he, of course, got grandfathered into a whole bunch of haters that just refused to move past Robert Englund. Batman actors have the same curse. I get it, man. But he has to be recast, and Jackie Earl Haley and Robert Englund are not options. Who do you want to see become Freddy Krueger in a lead role? And what movie of theirs gives you that idea?
This is going to be tough for me because I don't know as many actors as I think that you probably do. So I'll tell you this. This is what I would do. I would find somebody who is relatively unknown. And the reason I say that is because I don't, I've seen people say Kevin Bacon would make a great Freddy Krueger.
I think Robert Englund dropped Kevin Bacon's name.
And that's probably could be the case. He could probably do a really good job. But the two things are one, you're going into the movie saying, oh shit, that's Kevin Bacon playing Freddy Krueger, not,
Yeah.
oh, that's Freddy Krueger. And number one or number two, Kevin Bacon's also getting a bit older. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good route. My suggestion, you might could go somewhere further with what I'm saying is I think you get someone younger, 20s, 30s, whoever, maybe 40s, that's fine, but someone that is kind of an unknown. Maybe he's done like some smaller budget stuff, maybe some stuff that's been not super unknown or super well known. That way you kind of help build that mystique of who is this guy playing Freddy? Because I'll be honest, and I could be wrong on this, I didn't know who Bill Skarsgård was when he was announced to play Pennywise. Now
Yeah.
I know he'd been in a couple movies and I know he was not an unknown actor, but he certainly wasn't an A-lister, but I didn't know who he was. But dude, when he played Pennywise, he knocked that shit out of the park. And I
Yeah.
think they did a great job by picking someone that wasn't super well known. So you weren't like, oh, that's so and so playing so and so. No, you're watching Pennywise. No, you're watching Freddy Krueger. You're watching Jason. Get someone that's not super well known and get someone that you think and you can build off potential with for a couple sequels. And yeah, that's my opinion. That's what I think would be the best route.
That is the recipe for success. And they got to be at least 45. I mean, they've got to be middle aged, not too old because he's got to have some action sequences, but you can't be young because you have to be like a father figure. You have to be a groundskeeper at a preschool age. You know what I
Correct.
mean? So you have to be middle aged. So it's got to be someone vetted. If you're going to do it this decade, it's got to be someone in their 40s or 50s. 20 years from now, I could see like a young guy like Jacob Elordi doing it. But as of right now, no, too young. It's got to be 45 at the youngest, dude. I don't care where in the timeline you you make this movie. I mean, Freddy was burned as an adult, as a grown man, so he's got to be old. He's got to be older. Not Robert England's age, not even Kevin Bacon's age. I know that name drop was dated years and years ago. I think it's a banger of a name drop idea, and people have really latched onto it. A little too old, man. You know who I would like to see as Freddy Krueger, and it's as with any fan cast, it's probably difficult to picture, but I could see Freddy Krueger being played by Matthew Lillard, who is Shaggy and one of the killers from Scream. And even ignoring the Scream Wes Craven reference there, even ignoring that, I think Matthew Lillard could very easily play a psychopathic dream demon serial killer. I think that'd be fantastic. I wanted him to play Cletus Cassidy or Carnage in a Spider-Man movie. You know what I mean? I think Matthew Lillard. I think that could be Matthew Lillard's like Hollywood Walk of Fame star role is someone like Freddy Krueger, because you could do the psychotic and dark and menacing and very threatening Matthew Lillard, but you could also do campy one-liners with him. You know, he has dabbled in both. So, yeah, man, give me that Shaggy Freddy, give me that Scream Freddy. I think he could be. I haven't really kept up with him and what he's doing lately, but I think seeing him as Freddy would be. I think that would be great.
Now, what about Tommy Wiseau?
I cast him as the Joker and only the Joker. I've seen his audition tapes for the Joker, and it's one of the best things I've ever seen in my entire life.
In all seriousness, I think, yeah, if someone's thinking off Matthew Lillard, like, what? That doesn't make sense. But
Yeah.
he seems like one of those picks that would just like, it's so different that it would work.
It
And
has to be someone that doesn't make sense, like even like an Adam Driver, like someone that you wouldn't even connect with Nightmare on Elm Street. It has to be like that.
correct. And very similar to Heath Ledger playing the Joker. Everyone was like, what?
Oh, Brokeback Mountain. Oh, it's gonna be Brokeback Mountain again.
Exactly. And we see how that turned out. It was incredible. So yeah, I agree. I could see someone like that. I think you're right about the age thing, you know, maybe late 30s, early 40s, something like that. Someone that's not too young, but not too old, someone that can carry it and someone that can do, you know, pull that off. But yeah, I think I think we're kind of on the same wavelength, you know, do something new, do something fresh if you can, and, you know, get someone that, you know, not maybe not super well known, someone that you can build around and someone that can, you know, lead on another franchise, because I think it's very doable out of any franchise, out of the big three. You know, I think this franchise could be, if done correctly, could be the best.
No.
And because just of the material that they have and the creativeness and the advancements of technology and filmmaking, I mean, you could do so much stuff that could really be really cool.
And it's got to be all practical. I don't want any CGI, man. I want all practical effects.
Well, good luck with that.
I know, right?
But yeah, that would be great. But you know, so for the most part, that pretty much wraps up the series for us. And we have been a long time coming. And thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate it. As far as what is coming up for us, we're gonna do a couple, you know, couple one-off reviews here and there, stuff to kind of stay in the Thanksgiving vibe of things. And then obviously Christmas is coming up after that. A lot of great Christmas themed horror we'll have to review. And so we'll do that as well. So we're not going anywhere. We're not going to abandon you like we did last Halloween. We're actually going to try to stick around this time.
We got some ideas for one-offs that we're going to do. We got to take a break from the franchises, man. It's a big undertaking for sure. But inevitably we will do another franchise. So I want to hear from you guys. What do we do next? Because we have ideas. There's the Alien franchise. There's obviously the Friday the 13th franchise, which is probably a next October thing. There's a Paranormal Activity franchise. There's a lot of horror franchises that we can marathon, and all of them sound good, man. But when the time comes, what should we do? Well, what do you want to do?
I personally, I've had this idea in my head just because I think it works. I say we do Friday the 13th this upcoming summer, because you got the camp setting, Camp Crystal Lake, summertime. I'm okay with that.
There you go.
And
That works.
then, you know, maybe next October we think about it. You know, we've got a couple different ways we can go. We can go Alien, we can go Texas Chainsaw, we can go, yeah, Child's Play, Hellraiser. I mean, there's a bunch of ways. Scream,
So many. There's so
Scream,
many,
Saw.
yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch that we can go with. But I do think that doing Friday the 13th during the summer would be a cool idea.
Oh yeah, that's a banger of an idea. Let's do
And plus, the new series should be out, so we can kind of talk about that.
that. Will it be out next summer?
It should be 2024 spring, I believe, is what they said. I could be
Good.
wrong though.
Perfect timing then.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Happy Halloween, happy October. Hope you had a great month, but don't go anywhere because it's October every day on this channel, not just in the month of October. We keep it scary all the time. Thank you for watching every horror film. We'll see you on the next one.
The mummy has now been located.
The living mummy. The living mummy.
Bullets won't stop.
Some creature out of time.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
He's completely out of control.
I saw those bodies.
Is he a man or a monster?
You actually knew a werewolf in a peaceful town where nothing ever happened.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
In the mystical regions of Transylvania.